Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back over to Texas and kind of continue on with this Texan mini-series that I've been doing for you. So a huge thank you once again to my friend Anna who brought these beers back to Sweden with her when she was home in America. Muchly appreciated, and it's like I say, it's always cool to try beers from different states because you have these rules in America that make it difficult to distribute some of these beers. But for this one we are going to go to Austin in Texas, and we're doing my first review of an American sour beer. This brewery specialises in the brewing of sour beers. So we're going to go to Blue Owl Brewery, like I said, in Austin, and we're having a taste of their Little Boss beer, which comes in at 3.4%, and it's a sour session wheat. Apparently on Rate Beer it said that it was kind of like a Berliner Weiss actually, so really looking forward to trying this one. That's a style I quite enjoy, and like I say, my first ever sour beer review from America, so should be quite cool, so I hope you guys enjoy it. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Blue Owl Brewing. Like I said, the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel uses a geography-based tagging system, so you can search for beers based on country, city or state, whatever you're interested in. There are playlists of the beers from the different countries as well. Do check out my sake and whiskey reviews, and as always, please get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries you guys would like to see me review on the channel. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Blue Owl Brewery. So Blue Owl Brewery are based in Austin, and they were founded by Susie Schaefer and Jeff Young, and both of them had actually been involved with the Black Star Cooperative Brewery in Austin previously. This Black Star Brewery seems to be quite interesting. It's the first brewery that was founded in America under the cooperative rules, and it's a really interesting thing. Apparently it's a bit of a kind of beer hive, and basically you can join as a member, go in and brew your own beer, and they do have a bar and stuff on site there from what I understand, where they sell all these different beers, which is pretty cool. But these guys are joined at the brewery by Davey Pasternak, who's a mechanical engineer, and also Jessica Dale, who designs the brewery artwork. And the company specialise in brewing sour beers, like I said, and apparently their aim is to make it available in 6-packs of cans for under $10. But instead of using the more time-consuming and traditional barrel method of brewing sour beers, they instead use a natural bacteria which is found on the barley, and they allow it to multiply in the wort until they get the desired acidity in the beer, and then they cut it off, and that's where they actually brew the beers. So they say that they also want to be an urban brewery, so they can promote beer culture within the within the city, of course. But they apparently provide maps and let customers have self-guided beer tours within the brewery. And the tasting room apparently is more like a living room according to the website and the pictures. They aim just to be a kind of sort of social space, I guess, and where kind of adults, I guess, in the community can go and kind of converse and have different beers and stuff. So it's really quite a cool concept that they've put together actually. I really would quite like to go and visit this brewery if I find myself in Austin sometime soon. But it's always cool, like I say, to try beers from different breweries, especially when it's different states in America. These are the first Texan beers that I've come across actually. So I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and it's really cool to be reviewing some of these beers for you. So we'll get stuck into this guy now. So like I said to you, this one is a 3.4% session sour wheat, although Rate Beer lists it as a Berliner Weiss actually. And I think they do say on the website that this one is not unlike a Berliner Weiss, but they don't say on the can that it is that particular style of beer. So it should be quite interesting. We know roughly what to expect from this one, but I'll just let you have a little look at the can before we open it up. It's quite nicely presented, this one. This can actually reminds me of the Modern Times beers that we get in Sweden from California. It's actually kind of similar in its colour scheme, but it's just got a different symbol and things like that. Obviously it is quite similar actually, and it's nicely presented. I do like it when they have these kind of nice kind of eye-catching and modern designs on their cans. So yeah, we'll get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. And it does seem to be a bit of a trend actually with some of these Texan breweries. A lot of them seem to put their beers into cans, which is obviously better for the environment than using glass, because you can recycle both of them, but I think there's less of a CO2 impact when you do it with aluminium. So yeah, so this beer has poured kind of exactly how you would expect a wheat beer to. Nice kind of cloudy pale golden straw colour. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see it is pretty opaque in colour. There's not really much in the way of transparency to this one. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. There's about a half finger of a frothy and kind of bubbly white head there. It's got some bigger bubbles in it, and just as I'm moving the beer around, without paying too much attention to the aroma, you actually can pick up some of these nice kind of wheaty characteristics coming out. That sort of smooth wheaty spice, you can pick that up. But let's have a closer look at the aroma then with this one and see how we get on. It's actually not too pungent an aroma. It actually smells quite candied to me. It smells a bit like some of these lollipops and things that I've had when I was a little kid. It reminds me of these, we have a lollipop in Scotland that's called the traffic light lolly, and when you, basically as you suck this thing, it changes colours. It goes from red to amber to green. And it really reminds me of the smell of these lollies a little bit. It really has that. It's got that nice kind of candied fruit aroma to it. There's a bit of a sharper lemon citrus in there. Just on the front of the nose you can pick up a little bit of that really tart lemon citrus character that you get when you use these bacteria in the beers. You can really pick that up. There's a good bit of grassy and slightly floral hoppy character to this one as well. And to me actually, you can smell that wheaty, that smooth wheaty character. It's a little bit spicy as well, right enough, kind of wheaty and bready. You can pick that up in this beer, but you really have to take it in quite deeply to get it. For me, it really smells, this beer smells more like a kind of candied, sort of candy aroma. And it's got some of that lemon sharpness and, like I say, a bit of grassy and floral character from the hops. I'm really picking that up in this one. So it's quite an interesting aroma this. Just take a little bit of time and enjoy it before you get stuck into the beer. And if I sugar it up, you do get a little bit more sharpness from that tart character in the beer, and a bit more grassiness coming out of it as well. But it smells quite interesting. It's not too big on the aroma. Some of these IPAs, double IPAs and things, can have a really pungent aroma. This is a bit more of a subtle aroma, I would say, more than anything else. But yeah, quite an interesting aroma. Take a little bit of time and enjoy it before you get stuck into the beer, but we'll have a go at this one now. So this one is the Little Boss, the Sour Session Wheat from Blue Owl Brewing Company in Austin, Texas. Slange. That's interesting. It comes in very, very sharp actually. Yeah, it comes in with a very sharp tartness, and then it smooths out quite nicely. But that tartness kind of lingers at the front edge of the tongue as you move into the aftertaste of this one. I can see now that the head's faded away, there's a lot of little carbonation bubbles just coming up towards the bottom of the head on this beer. But this one is really, it's got that real big sharp character that you expect from this one. The malt base is nice in this, how it works out as well. Those wheaty malts that are in this come across nicely. I would say, if you're thinking about this one as a Berliner Weiss, as Rate Beer have done, the malt base on this is a little bit more subtle, and it does really lean more towards that sharp tart character that you get with these beers that have had the bacteria in them. Yeah, I think it's fair to say, in terms of a Berliner Weiss, this one is very, very tart, very sharp, very acidic. But the malt base is very light. It's almost as if with this one, if you concentrate on the middle of your palate, you can pick up a bit of pale malt in this, and then there's a bigger element of that heavier wheaty malt in this one. But it's very smooth. There's a little bit of there's a wee tiny bit of spicy character in there. I'm picking that up with this one. Yeah, there is a little bit of that. The malt base is quite minimal in this though. I would say it really does lean towards that sharp tart character. That's obviously when it's a sour beer. That's what's dominating the flavour, but it's very... This is one of the sharper sour beers I've had, I would say, out of the ones I've reviewed for you on the channel. Yeah, so all around the edge of the tongue here, you get this really sharp, lemony citrus coming out of this one, that acidity in there, and it works quite nicely. The thing about this beer is it's very light and it's very sessionable. You know, at 3.4%, you could drink a few of these But for me, when it comes to sour beers, I quite like to drink one to taste it. Sour beers for me are tasters rather than session beers. And that's what I would say about this one as well. I would drink one of these and quite enjoy it, and then I maybe wouldn't have another one at the same time I'm at the bar. It's the sort of beer that I would say, like, I fancy one of those and I'd drink it, but then I maybe wouldn't drink it until the next time I was there. But yeah, on the edges of the palate there is a little bit of hoppy bitterness there. But overall the mouthfeel is quite wet. There's a little bit of grassy character, maybe a wee bit of floral things going on there, but really the edge, right round the edge of the palate, is very wet, and it's that sharp, lemony, kind of tart, acidic character that you're getting out of this beer. It's really nice and it is enjoyable, but just for my kind of personal thing, I would always have one of these beers one time. I would have one of these per session. It's not a beer that I would session, but that's just, I like the sour beers, but for me they're not session beers. But this is really nice actually. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. As I was saying, they've classified this as a Berliner Weiss on Rate Beer. What I would say with regards to that style from living in Germany was, this one is a little bit light on the malt to be a Berliner Weiss. The Berliner Weisses have to have a bit more malty character to them. They've got to have a bigger wheat presence than this beer does. This one really is more of a sour beer than a Berliner Weiss, I would say. The Berliner Weiss is a kind of sour beer, but this one just doesn't have the malt presence for me to fit into that Berliner Weiss category. But as I've said many times on the channel, when it comes to beer, you don't want to focus too much on the style, you want to focus on whether it's a good beer or not. And this one, I have to admit, I have quite enjoyed. I'm getting a wee bit of alcohol warmth from it as well, which is quite interesting considering it's only 3.4%, but it's really easily drinkable. Your mouth takes a little bit of time to adjust to it, as it will with any sour beer, but it's nicely done. And what I would say about this one is that if you like sour beers and you enjoy them to really lean towards that very sharp tart character rather than it being a kind of more subtle element, this is one that you're really going to enjoy. This one is for the people who really like big sour flavour. But I would say, in terms of the Berliner Weiss category that it's listed under on Rate Beer, for me it doesn't quite fit into that bracket, and that's just my experience from being in Berlin and things like that, and drinking the Berliner Kindles and stuff like that. That's the kind of benchmark, I guess, for Berliner Weiss. This one just doesn't quite have the wheat presence for that, but as a session, as a kind of sort of sour session wheat, as it's labelled as, it certainly fits that category. But in terms of the mouthfeel, this one, I'd say this one is pretty light-bodied, and interestingly, it's that acidity in the beer that really gives it that light-bodied feel. You get a little bit of crispness from the carbonation, there's a little bit of sweetness from the malt base there as well, but really it's quite sharp and tart, and there's a little bit of juicy fruit character coming out of this one. It's really quite nicely done actually. I would certainly recommend this one if you enjoy the really sharp sour flavours. So yeah, really cool to try another beer from a Texas brewery, especially one from Austin. Do let me know what other breweries there are in Austin that I should check out. If you are living there and you haven't heard of this brewery and you like sour beers, then this is definitely one you want to hit up. That cooperative brewery that the two people have been involved in sounds very interesting as well, so I'll need to check that out when I make it over to Austin sometime. But if you like big, sharp, lemony, sour beers, then this is one you're certainly going to enjoy. If you check it out on Rate Beer and you expect a Berliner Weiss, I'd say you might be a bit disappointed with this in that regard, but in terms of being a sour beer, it really fits into that category rather than the Berliner Weiss. So give it a try and see what you think for yourself. I would recommend that you have a look at this one. But yeah, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out all my social media in the description below. But do let me know in the comments box your own thoughts on this beer and the brewery and some other Austin beers that I should check out here on the channel. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, slanted just now, and I will catch you very soon. Make sure you check out Blue Owl Brewing from Austin in Texas. Slanted just now, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers.